In the early 2000s, One Tree Hill taught an entire generation of teens that nice guys finish last. But looking back on the show today, were these characters actually as sweet as they seemed, or were we just conditioned to overlook some pretty weird behavior? Welcome to Screen Thoughts. Today we are diving deep into the problematic nice guys of Tree Hill, specifically focusing on how they treated the women in their lives. For this video, I've decided to put the spotlight on two specific characters, Mouth McFadden and Keith Scott. But don't worry, I haven't forgotten about Lucas. Trust me, his behavior deserves a video all on its own. But for today, let's get into it. To understand why Tree Hill is full of these characters, we first have to look at where the phrase came from. The saying nice guys finish last was actually coined all the way back in 1946 by Brooklyn Dodgers manager Leo Durocher. He wasn't talking about romance, he just meant that you don't win baseball games by playing polite. But over the decades, pop culture has twisted that sports quote into a deeply infamous sentiment, the manipulation of kindness for romantic reward. In television and cinema, we see this trope play out the exact same way every single time. It's the overlooked best friend who convinces himself he was right for the girl all along. He pines after her even after she's shown zero romantic interest, just waiting in the sidelines for his chance. And more often than we'd like to admit, it has a dark side. The moment she chooses someone else, the nice guy snaps. He lashes out at her or completely vilifies the other guy for having the charm, confidence, and charisma he thinks he lacks. They resort to the classic lines,
"Well, that's a problem. I'm too nice. Girls like jerks."
And by doing this, they completely ignore their own massive character flaws or paint themselves as the ultimate victim, and sometimes even try acting like a jerk just to shed their nice guy persona. At its core, a Hollywood nice guy is someone who presents basic decency as a transaction. They aren't being kind just to be kind. They are doing it with an underlying romantic intent. And it reveals itself as a manipulative tactic the second they face rejection. When they don't get the girl, that sweetness evaporates and is replaced by resentment and entitlement. Now, don't get me wrong, many of these characters are fundamentally good people at their core, but their genuine kindness is constantly overshadowed by what ultimately looks like very selfish intent. Which brings us perfectly to our first case study, Uncle Keith. To the entire town of Tree Hill, Keith is an absolute saint. When his brother Dan got Karen pregnant in high school and abandoned her to go to college, Keith stepped up. He helped Karen raise Lucas and became a dedicated father figure. And everyone in the show loves him because on the surface, he is the ultimate good guy. And to be fair, Keith and Karen do have a great relationship with a lot of genuine love. The problem is Keith's love is a bit deeper and a lot more complicated because he's been in love with Karen since high school, long before she even got pregnant. For 15 years, they had a solid friendship. Karen always saw him as a safe friend, and honestly, Keith knew that.
I don't think she sees me that way.
But because his feelings are so intense, whenever Karen shows even a fraction of romantic interest, Keith completely jumps the gun. For example, in season 1, after that awkward dinner with Dan and Deb, Karen mentioned that she pretended it was a real date and that she found it nice. A normal response would have been, "Yeah, me too." But instead, Keith takes it from 0 to 100 and he says,
I love you. Always have.
Karen looked like she didn't even know what to do with herself in that situation. But he was drunk. She let it slide, and later, right before she leaves for a culinary program in Italy, she gave him a kiss at the airport. Now, this should have been a normal turning point to explore when she got back. But Keith's reaction, he immediately went out and bought a wedding ring. Unsurprisingly, Karen rejected the proposal. A lot of stuff had gone down while she was away, including Keith getting into a car crash that nearly killed Lucas. Plus, while she was away, Karen realized that she spent 15 years being nothing but a mother and she wanted to actually figure out who she is. Now I understand Keith had years of built-up emotion, but his dramatic reaction made it so difficult to feel bad for him. Because his feelings were hurt, he decided he was going to leave Tree Hill entirely. And this is the point where Keith completely started to undermine his own stately character. In an emotional moment, he revealed his ulterior motive behind 15 years of kindness. In episode 20, he confronts her and literally says,
You got what you needed, and so did Lucas. But what about me? What do I get out of it?
This line was terrible because it forces you to question the intentions behind everything he ever did for Lucas and Karen. He always claimed that he took care of them because it was the right thing to do. But his behavior proves that he was actually doing it in the hopes that one day she'd wake up and reward him with a relationship. He completely victimized himself over unreciprocated feelings, as if Karen didn't have the right to her own autonomy. Okay, spoiler alert, the show actually rewarded this behavior. They randomly and very quickly, in my opinion, get together in season 3. And personally, I don't think I agree with them ending up together. I think it would have been a much stronger, more mature arc if they agreed to be lifelong friends. Instead, the narrative validates his entitlement, almost proving that if a nice guy just waits out a woman long enough, then he'll eventually get what he thinks he's earned. But if you think Keith was something, we need to talk about Mouth. When it comes to the nice guy, Mouth McFadden is the absolute blueprint. Mouth starts as a lovable side character who eventually joins the main cast. To the other characters, he's the ultimate supportive friend with a golden heart. This is clearest in his friendship with Brooke Davis. In season 1, Brooke genuinely takes a liking to him. They hang out, she bids on him at a bachelor auction, they have an amazing night, and she gives him a kiss to show how much she appreciates him. She constantly says things like, "Why can't guys be more like you?" She loves him as a person, she views him as a great friend. And honestly, you can't blame Mouth for developing feelings for her. But then came season 2, and a single highly controversial episode that completely ruined any chance of ever rooting for him ever again. Enter Felix, a new guy that Brooke starts seeing in season 2. Felix buys Brooke's childhood dollhouse back for her after her family loses all their money, but he asks Mouth to take the credit for it because he wasn't supposed to be doing anything romantic for her. Later that night, a very drunk Brooke tells Mouth how much she appreciates his gesture, but offhandedly mentions he's like a little brother to her. Ouch. That night, Brooke got really drunk and Mouth took care of her, but when she woke up, she saw Felix and thought he was the one that took care of her. So she decided to give him a real shot. When she tells Mouth, he finally admits the truth about the dollhouse and about taking care of her. Brooke felt completely lied to and betrayed by both guys. And how does the nice guy respond to this messy situation? He literally smashes Brooke's car windshield. This was like a character-shattering moment. The second the nice guy got rejected and realized that his kindness didn't buy him romantic access, he acted out aggressively. It completely forces you to question whether he was actually nice to begin with, or if it was just a transaction that fell through. He does eventually win her friendship back by helping her run for student body president, but the damage to his character was already done. Then came Rachel. Now, Rachel was a much more complicated situation. She routinely used Mouth for validation, kissed him a few times, and even tried to kiss him during the blackout. But to Mouth's credit, he actually said no in that situation because he wanted something real, which gave me a little bit of hope for him. Later, after a vulnerable moment where Mouth learns about Rachel's past, she tells him that she wishes the old her had known him. So Mouth shoots his shot and asks her out, only to find her with someone else. And honestly, in this case, I can't really fault Mouth. It broke his heart, but he handled the rejection 1,000,000 times better than he did with Brooke. In fact, Brooke ended up crashing out and getting angry on his behalf.
I thought witches were supposed to melt.
He and Rachel later go on a road trip together to see if things could work out, but they don't. It's not his worst storyline though. That brings us to Shelley. Shelley was the leader of the Clean Teens, which was a virginity club at their school, and she started it because of a deeply traumatic event in her past. She actually really liked Mouth, but she was afraid of compromising her morals and getting hurt again. But instead of trying to understand where Shelley was coming from or even asking her why her boundaries were so important to her, Mouth just pities himself. He feels rejected, he gets upset, he lashes out and just throws himself a massive pity party.
I get it, Shelly, you're not attracted to me.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
After a wave of intense guilt-tripping from Mouth, Shelley finally compromises her morals and sleeps with him. And unsurprisingly, she feels absolutely terrible afterwards and realizes that she can't be with him. And Mouth's response was to just mope around for the next few episodes like he was the victim. This storyline utterly breaks down the nice guy persona for Mouth. Mouth seems to only be nice until a woman sets a boundary that he doesn't like. And the moment that he doesn't get what he wants, he just acts completely entitled. So, while Mouth had plenty of moments where he was a great character and genuinely supportive, the show overtly used his character to communicate that exhausting nice guys finish last sentiment. He's the guy who constantly hates on the guys who actually gets the girl. He constantly complains about why he's always single, completely ignoring the fact that he actually dated multiple amazing women throughout the series. It was a deeply problematic arc, just wrapped in an unthreatening package, I'd say. Now, as frustrating as Keith and Mouth can be, their writing makes total sense when you look at the man behind the scenes. The creator, executive producer, and head writer of One Tree Hill was Mark Schwann. After the show ended, Schwann became infamous for many allegations brought against him by many female cast and crew members, detailing inappropriate behavior on and off set. What makes this relevant to our nice guy discussion is the well-known fact that Schwann openly admitted to basing the character of Mouth McFadden on himself. Suddenly, the puzzle pieces start to come together. The reason Mouth's toxic rants, his windshield smashing, and his complete disregard for women's boundaries are constantly excused or framed as pitiable by the show because the writer was essentially validating his own worldview. He was writing a universe where his own behavior was supposed to be rewarded. Now, the nice guy trope can be written well and has been in other TV shows and cinema, but in the case of One Tree Hill, we have to take into account exactly who was influencing these characters. In a way, Keith and Mouth were done a massive disservice. They could have been beautifully complex, deeply human characters who learned from their rejections. Instead, they were used to normalize a dangerous standard of entitlement. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Tree Hill. And if you did, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment on what your thoughts are on Mouth and Keith. If you want to see more content like this, please hit that subscribe button and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!